Hey guys, I'm MCat. Welcome back to Salmon Run 101. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the known occurrences in Salmon Run. There are 8 unique occurrences, 2 of which can happen at the same time as the other 6. Let's get started with the most basic known occurrence. High tide, low tide. As a new Grizzco employee, this is the first event you will ever encounter in Salmon Run. It's one thing to have it explained in training, but it is another thing to experience it on each map. This event is pretty straightforward. It will either be high, mid, or low tide. Low tide is my favorite tide event as it reveals an area that can only be used during this event. High tide is definitely my least favorite because it restricts the amount of room you have to work. Each map is different for each tide event, and some maps are easier than others when it comes to high tide. The most important thing is that during high tide, you must deal with the boss salmonids quickly. If you take too much time on each one, the map can become pretty unsafe. It's important to also deposit eggs in a timely manner, or the snatchers will come and take them back. Remember to always take care of your teammates during high and low tides. If you aren't paying attention, things can go south very quickly. This leads me into my first known occurrence, Cohawk Charge, also known as Cannon. This event only occurs during low tide and cannot be experienced until all of the crew's rank is Go-Getter. During this event, only Cohawks will spawn alongside of the boss salmonids. Since Cohawks have a high HP, cannons will appear on the map to help you take them out in large numbers and will allow you to collect eggs safely without getting smashed to pieces. It's best to have 2 teammates in the cannons while the other 2 collect eggs. Be careful though, as you still can be splatted while using the cannons. You can take out bosses with the cannons, especially trash boys, which I recommend you do. With this being said, the map can begin to fill up with eggs quickly. When this happens, it's best to let one person operate the cannon while the rest of you collect eggs. In my opinion, the person who should be in the cannon is the one with the worst weapon. I'm referring to any chargers, since it's hard for them to defend themselves in close range, a dynamo roller, since they're slower than most weapons, and even the Hydra Splatlet. So the point is, big, heavy, slow weapons, or weapons that can't defend easily at a close range. Don't be greedy with the cannons. Switch out and help collect eggs if you see quota is not being reached. Or if you notice no one is in a cannon, quickly jump into one to help clear the area of Cohawks. Salmon Run is a very team-focused mode, and if one person isn't contributing, the whole crew suffers. Rush. During the Rush event, only chums spawn. No small fry, no Cohawks. This event can occur during the neutral and high tides, but cannot occur during the low tide. In this mode, the chum will rush the players surrounded by glowflies. Each player is chosen at random for an unknown amount of time. If you're the one being targeted, watch out for yourself and your teammate. This event can only be experienced if all 4 members are at the rank of part-timer or higher. What makes this event challenging is the sheer amount of salmonids that rush in at once. The maximum number of enemies that can spawn at a time during this event range from 19 to 32, depending on the map and the level difficulty. During this mode, there is no reason that you and your teammates should be apart from each other. It's best handled if you all stay together, causing the salmonids to take a single route to all of you. The best advice is to find a choke point on the map or a tall wall. On Marooner's Bay, it's best to group up right before the mesh bridge on the right side of the basket. This forces all the salmonid to take one path towards all of the players. It only works though if the targeted person stays right on the bridge. Move too far back towards the front of the boat, and the salmonid will start rushing from both bridges. As for the wall trick, this works best on the Lost Outpost. Since the main bulk of the map is this little room, the best wall to use is to the left of the basket. If you're being targeted, ink the wall and stay just below the metal bar. This will help your teammates be able to safely deposit and kill salmonids without being run over. Most of the walls in the Lost Outpost work as well. I typically use this one since it's closest to the basket. Remember, teamwork is crucial in this event. If one member is off doing something else, your formation can fall apart in seconds. Goldie Seek. Aside from high tide, this event is my least favorite. This mode, although not chance-based, feels like a complete chance event. What I mean by this is it's very tricky to master. This event can occur during any tide event and cannot be experienced until you are in the Overachiever's rank. When triggered, you will see some closed gushers appear, and your job is to find the one which the Goldie is hiding in. I'll cover the basics of the event before I dive into why I think this mode is terrible. You and your teammates need to spread out fast, and I mean fast, to find the Goldie. Opening the wrong gusher results in find multiple salmonids spawning out of it. It's easy for the map to become overwhelmed if you don't find the Goldie within the first few openings. Once you find the Goldie, it's best to shout out "this way" and rally your teammates to help get eggs. The Goldie itself has 6,500 HP and will drop 1 egg for every 500 points of damage dealt. This is what makes this event challenging, especially if you're up near max hazard, where you need 23 to 25 eggs per round. The Goldie can drop a maximum of 16 eggs, although you can occasionally have it drop 17 total. You really have to be fast and hope the Goldie is near the basket, or those little snatchers will come and take your eggs. There are a few tricks to finding the Goldie and getting eggs quickly. Finding him is the easier part of the challenge. It is true that the gusher that shines the brightest has the Goldie in it. The trouble is that due to the lighting, they all look similar in shininess. All in all, you want to open as few gushers as possible before finding the Goldie. One weapon that makes this event so much easier is the dynamo roller. Once you find the Goldie, simply roll the dynamo in front of him for a massive egg drop. My personal dislike for this mode stems from people not really knowing what to do. Most people get distracted by the salmonids or trying to chase the Goldie that they forget to drop eggs that they already have into the basket. This can result in a loss very quickly. Also, once you reach quota, you do not have to keep opening gushers. You can honestly just have a party because, wow, you did the work. Grizz is gonna pay you. Have some fun for Squid's sake. Grillers. The griller event can only occur during normal or high tide, and can be experienced once you reach part-timer. Grillers are essentially the Trojan horse of Salmon Run. They are literal grills, filled with salmonids, accompanied by small fry that want to murder you. They're similar to flutters in the story mode, but instead of aimlessly wandering, they target specific players at random, indicated by a laser pointer. Only 2 grillers can be spawned at once, and Grizz will let you know when the second one appears. The only way to kill a griller is to attack its exposed tail, which will send him into a stunned tailspin for 5 seconds. It's at this point you wail on him. If you deal 22,000 damage, which is the equivalent of 5.5 Cohawks, the griller will explode and drop 5 golden eggs. The hardest thing about grillers can be their movement. Grillers are very linear in their movement, and when targeting a player, will follow their movements exactly. If a teammate isn't paying attention, they can have a griller accidentally run over you. It's probably the most common cause of griller deaths. Because of this though, it can be super easy to trick a griller's movement. Like the glowflies, you can ink a wall that's tall enough and manage to distract the griller for a bit. Mothership. This event can be experienced during any tide event, but cannot be experienced until all crew members are overachievers. In this mode, new enemies called Chinooks are introduced. Don't confuse them with the Canucks, because they are a Canadian hockey team, which is a totally different thing than what I'm talking about right now. In this event, a mothership will appear overhead, and from the mothership, the Chinooks will bring down a cooler. To harvest eggs in this mode, you have to kill the Chinook before it drops the cooler. Each Chinook will drop 1 egg. It sounds like a small amount, but on each map, there tends to be one spot where they spawn drop a lot. If you don't kill them before they drop the cooler though, salmonids will start to spawn from the cooler, so it's important to find a balance of killing and depositing. The mothership will try to approach the basket twice in this mode, and Grizz will let you know when it's headed your way both times. When it approaches, it will lock onto the basket to try and take the eggs back. During this sequence, you cannot deposit eggs into the basket until you fend off the mothership. As mentioned in the specials episode, the stingray is the best way to fend off the mothership and get a few extra eggs to drop. If you want a more in-depth video on how to use the stingray against the mothership, be sure to check out my Salmon Run 101 specials episode. And last but not least, we have Fog. Fog is one of the first events you will ever encounter once you reach part-timer. It too can occur during any tide event. This event makes it very difficult to see anything from a distance. Additionally, salmonids will spawn all over the map instead of concentrating on a single area at a time. This is another mode where we see goldies make an appearance, and 2 of them will appear at random intervals. Originally, they only dropped 3 eggs. It wasn't until version 3.2.0 that they now randomly drop 1, 3, or 10 eggs. Other boss salmonid will spawn as well during this event, And it's important for you and your team to travel in pairs. That way, if one goes down, there's another teammate close by. It's also important to rally out this way when a boss spawns. It can help teammates who don't know what to do find an objective. It's a pretty straightforward event, and that's that. And that about covers all the known occurrences in Salmon Run. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and hanging out as I try to hash out this series. Next episode, we will cover the maps of Salmon Run, including the newest map, Archipelaris. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked that video, splat that like button. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you want more content like this, click that little bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. As always, guys, stay safe and happy hunting.